All right, my friends, Kris Krohn here. Welcome back. And today I've got a special treat because I've brought Jerry Norton here, and we're going to talk about how much money you can really make in the game of wholesaling real estate. If you're a subscriber, you're gonna notice that today's video is gonna be different than some of the others because I wanted Jerry to share with us one of his most successful deals that he's ever done. I want him to share the least amount of money he's ever made on wholesaling. But most importantly, at the end of the video, I'm gonna have him break down a very simple formula. All the time in real estate, people are always talking about crunch the numbers. Jerry has got the magic formula, and it's so simple that seriously, so my daughter in elementary school can knock this out of the park.
It's like fifth grade math.
It's fifth grade math, okay. So if you're older than fifth grade, hopefully, hey, you can always go back and watch it a couple of times if you get a little lost here, okay? But this is gonna be a treat today because this is all about how you can make some crazy money. And at the very, very, very end, we're actually gonna show you how you can access all of the best deals in the country right now for free. So check it out. Jerry, first of all, for our viewers watching it, when we're talking about how much money can you make wholesaling, quick definition, what is wholesaling?
Well, wholesaling is not the same as fix and flip, so I want to make sure everybody's really clear. We're not talking about buy it, fix it, sell it. We're talking about get a contract and assign or flip your contract to another investor.
So basically, this is the in-between part. You find a really good deal, and then before you actually buy it, fix it, flip it, and make money, you're actually skipping that whole thing saying, I found it, I got a piece of paper that says I have the right to buy it, and it's got such juicy profit, I'm gonna give it to somebody else. So how much money have you ever made on actually not even doing the deal, dude? Just even like, I found a deal, I gave it to somebody else. Like, what did you get, like a $5,000 check, a $10,000 check?
No, I mean, that's common. I mean, that's pretty normal to get a $5,000 or $10,000 check wholesaling, and I've done lots of those. But this one was a juicy one. It was a $65,000 wholesale.
Okay, dude, hot dog, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
and
nice.
this is a really fun story because it wasn't actually a residential property. It was a commercial property, and I'm not a commercial guy. It just kind of fell in my lap. What happened was an agent that would bring me a lot of deals, they brought me this deal, and they said, Jerry, I don't know how, but I got this listing from the bank. It's an REO. It's a bank-owned property, and it's actually this retail building. And I said, you know what? I'm not really a commercial guy. I don't really know that. I just do houses. And he says, yeah, but I got it for a great deal. It was listed previously in like another MLS, so it's not even in the right place. No one really saw it. And here it is. Like, I got it. You got to check this out. So I go to this property and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I don't really know how commercial works, but let's just get a contract. And the agent said, I need a $10,000 earnest money for you to get the contract on this. So I said, here's what I did. I said, okay, give me a couple days to get you the earnest money. Okay, I didn't want to put that money down right now.
Okay, actually, I'm loving hearing this because commercial fell into my lap, and then I made crazy money on it. So I'm loving where this is going.
Yeah.
So you didn't even want to come up with the 10 grand. You said
I was too scared. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a contract. I have to put this earnest money. I got a couple days. Here's what I do. Right next to that building is an identical building, like same color brick, same size, everything. And I'm like, I wonder if whoever owns that building would want this building. So I walk in the front door and there's this psychologist. I just guessed. There was a couple of retail, things, and he was a psychiatrist. And I go up to the reception and I say, "Hey, so I'd like to talk to the owner of this building. I got a contract on the building here next door." And she goes, "Oh, that's Dr. So-and-so. Here's his card. Why don't you call him?" So I call the guy. He had been trying to buy that property for a long time and just couldn't put it together, or, it didn't happen.
Sometimes in real estate, it really comes down to, we know that it's going to be available, but it's not. We know it's going to be available. Sometimes months goes by. We know it's going to be available, but it's not. And then there's this moment where it's available, you snatch it, and there was all these other people waiting for it, like this guy.
Right. So I had the contract for $285. Okay, so I sit down with this guy, and this was nuts. He invites me into his office, and he's got this big cushy chair, and he says, "Have a seat." And I'm like, oh crap, if I lay down, it's all over. He's gonna like hypnotize me and take my deal. So I'm sitting like on the edge of my chair, and he goes, "So what do you want for the building?" And I said, I'm thinking, he who names the price first loses, right? So I say, "Well, what do you want to pay?" And he's like, "Well, what do you want for it?" "Well, what do you want to pay?" Okay. And no one wanted to put a number. So finally I'm like, okay.
Gold nugget, by the way.
Yeah, never name your price, let them name their, well, he wasn't going to. So finally I say, $385, okay? And remember, I got it for $285, and $385 was still a great deal. Like and he says, no way, I'll pay, the most I'll pay for it is $300. Here's what I do. I stand up, I stick out my hand, I say, nice meeting you, I'm out of here. And he goes, this is literally, he says, whoa, tough guy, sit down. Like, hey, no.
Who's the psychologist now?
And so we ended up settling at what's 65?
350.
350. Yeah, we ended up settling at 350, and I did a true assignment, right? Meaning I had my contract. I told him, look, we're gonna close in 30 days. I need a $10,000 earnest money, like right now.
Okay.
Right now, why did I need a $10,000 earnest money?
Because you had it under contract and you had your 10K earnest money.
So I took his $10,000, which I turned around and paid the bank for my earnest money. So now I got nothing, not a dime out of this thing. 30 days later, we go to closing, check for $65,000, just like that.
Dude, that is freaking awesome.
And here's what's cool about it. It's a lot of times this business, it's just being at the right place at the right time and not afraid to get out there and get a contract. Now, I had a 10-day due diligence on that thing, meaning if I couldn't have found a buyer, I could have gotten out of the contract.
Yeah, but dude, here's the thing that I noticed here. You were uncomfortable with commercial, but you said, let's just take a couple of days. You looked at the person next door and you actually tracked them down and sat in their chair. Yeah. You were willing to walk from the deal when you didn't get the number that you necessarily wanted. Like, you did a number of things that take a little bit of gumption. That's the word I was thinking of, right? Some gumption. And dude made that whole deal happen, got paid $65,000. How many hours did you put in that whole thing?
Oh, I think end to end, 5 or 6 maybe.
5 or 6 hours, $65,000. Dude, I like making $10,000 an hour. That's what I demand on most of the deals that I do. Yeah. So that's freaking awesome. Yeah, but listen, in all fairness, let's go the other direction, right? Yeah. It's not like everyone has just overnight success without sometimes licking their wounds. Yeah. What was the worst amount of money you ever made? Before we share this formula, because by the way, I'm telling you right now, what I do in real estate, my mind, I can get into some really complicated calculations and how I do things, and the way that Jerry's about to break it down for you, you are going to want pen and paper. You're going to want to write this down because it's going to be super, super valuable. But real quick, worst deal.
Yeah. So first of all, there are a lot of measures you can take to minimize your risk, especially wholesaling, right? But in real estate, let's face it, I think your audience is big boys and girls. There might be a time where you lose money on a deal, and I want to give you permission and tell you it's okay, right? If you're doing big checks and you're doing this right, you should make a lot of money. But every now and then,
it doesn't go your way.
It doesn't go your way, and if anybody tells you different, they're just blowing smoke, right? I know you've done the same thing. If you've been in the game long enough, you're gonna do a bad deal, and that just happens. It's part of the business.
I've made a lot of money, but I've also lost 7 figures.
Yeah, and that sucks. And I have too on some big fix and flips where I thought, but on wholesaling,
that's why you guys get to benefit from
that's
us.
Right.
It's like, please don't step in our pitfalls and don't make our trial and error mistakes.
I'll tell you,
seriously, learn from the guys
that's right.
that have done it right and learn from the guys that have done it wrong. That's when you're going to learn what you need to know.
Chris, I would give my right arm when I got started. Yeah,
I got a butcher knife here.
I literally would give my right arm when I got started. If I would have had a mentor like you, that I could have learned what not to do, not just what to do, but what not to do, because I made so many mistakes that a lot of them I didn't have to make. Yeah. Right. So anyway, I did this wholesale deal, and I realized into my deal, I'm talking to these cash buyers, and I'm like, I don't have a good deal. I thought I had a deal. I don't have a good deal. What do I do now? And my worry was, hey, if I back out of this deal, which I could have, I'm going to lose a lot of goodwill with this agent who had brought me the deal, because this agent had fed me a lot of good deals. Yeah. And my worry was, hey, if I go back on this deal, they're not going to be happy. I mean, they'll figure it out. They'll put it back on the market and find a new buyer, and it'll be okay, and maybe the relationship will be fine. But I didn't want to risk it. I didn't want to burn a bridge.
How many deals had you done with them before?
About 20, maybe 22 deals.
And how much money would you say that you had made on all those
hundreds
deals?
Of thousands.
Okay, so hundreds of thousands of dollars. What were you going to have to eat to walk away from this one?
I had a buyer that was willing to. I would lose about $3,000 to just to do the deal, and it was like, done. I'll do it. Let's do it.
So $3,000 was worth the price to pay for the multiple 6 figures that you had earned with this relationship.
I probably would have lost $25,000 on that deal.
I'll tell you
what I mean?
And I'll tell you guys something right now. So you lost 3,000 deals. You could have walked away with it. Yep. You had your risk metrics put in place. You could have walked, but the relationship. And I want to just take a moment and just say that's actually why Jerry is on this video. Is as I've had a chance to gauge his character and who he is as a human being, who he is as a father, who he is around his children and his wife. As I've sat down and my family's been over at his house and we've had dinner with them, I've had a chance to really get to know him on a more intimate basis. And you've noticed there's not a lot of guests I put here on my channel because, frankly, I'm a skeptic out there making sure that I'm only working with the best of the best. Right now, when it comes to the game of flipping, Jerry's a great guy to learn from. So, Jerry, here's what I'd love for you to do. Will you break down your formula for us on the whiteboard here and help our team here get as much value as we can, give you as much value in saying, okay, show me how to do it.
Let's do it. So the first thing you need to know is when you're putting together a wholesale deal, right? There's all this math to do because you got to think about, well, I gotta buy a property, or I got to get a contract, and then I got to find a buyer, and what are they going to want it for, and then maybe there's repairs and all these different things. And so you could like rack your brain with a calculator and spend all this time like running all these numbers, and it's all a waste of time. You don't have to do that. So what we've done is we've come up with a really simple formula. Here it is. Here's our formula. We call this the 70% formula. It's written up here. Now, if this looks like, whoa, that looks like some advanced math, it's really not. It's really simple. We'll break it down. So let's talk about what we've got up here. First, we have ARV. Now, that just stands for after repair value. Okay, so that's the number that the house will sell for once it's fixed up.
Okay, because when you buy it, it's probably going to need some repairs.
That's right.
You're factoring that in later. It's what is this thing really potentially going to be worth when I've put my hand on it or my team's repaired it?
That's right. Okay, so we start with that ARV number. So you have to know, what is this property worth fixed up, right? So we have that number. Then what we're going to do is we're going to times, like on your calculator, multiply by 0.7. Now, when you multiply by 0.7, think back to your elementary math. That's the same as taking 30% off the top.
So that's basically helping you find 70% of this value.
Yes,
We'll do an example in a moment so you can kind of break that down, or it's taking equivalent to making sure there's a 30% margin. There's a reason for that.
We'll talk about what the 30% covers, but you take 30% off, which is times 0.7. Then we have to subtract out the repairs. Now this is a variable because every deal is different.
So it could have $5,000 of repairs, or it could have $30,000 of repairs.
Yep. So you put that number in, and then when you run that math through, that equals now your buy price.
Okay, so check it out. The total thing that you think it's going to be worth, what is the home or project or property going to be worth? We got to subtract out a margin for a reason. We got to subtract the repairs, and that'll tell you what you need to buy it for. This is important because if you guys are going to bring a deal to Jerry and say, Jerry, I know that you'll give me $10,000 if I bring you a deal, this is an important video for you to watch to make sure you understand, all right, how do I know that I'm actually bringing a deal that is attractive to an investor like Jerry or somebody else?
That's right. So let's just break down real quick what the 70% covers, or the 30% we take off. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this 30% that we're taking right off the top, right? So there's three things that covers, and this is really important because whoever does this deal, they're gonna have these things. They're gonna all have it, right? You're gonna have closing costs. When you buy it and sell it, there's closing costs. That's commissions,
realtor fees,
prorations, title insurance, right? If you ever bought and sold real estate, there's fees you got to pay.
Okay.
So I've done this math a million times, and it comes in right around. Now this is a ballpark, but we're creating a formula. So about 9% of your ARV covers all of your closing costs when you buy and when you sell. Okay. The second thing is carry costs. And we call carry costs, that's just your cost of financing, because there's money that's going to go into this deal if it's a fix and flip.
If you borrowed the money from anywhere, if it was a hard money lender, if it was a bank,
private money,
there's always a cost for, I borrowed that money for 60 days or 120 days, and on average that works out to about 6%.
We're going to budget 6% to cover that, right?
Okay.
Now, if you're self-funding your own money, then you wouldn't have that line item, right?
Okay.
But we're assuming that most people are going to get the money from somewhere. And then the third thing is your profit, right? So we have 15% in your profit. That's the most important number out of all of it, right? And this adds up to about 30%.
Now, if you take 70% and add the 9, the 6, and the 15, this is how you get 100%.
Yeah.
So you know what I want to do, if you're okay with it, Jerry, I want to now, let's just do an actual example to make sure everyone gets it, okay?
Yep.
Let's just say for a moment that someone buys a home that after it's fixed up could be worth $100,000.
Simple number.
Okay, yep. We'll go with $100,000. So if I were to multiply that by 0.7, then that 100,000 is going to turn into 70,000, right?
Yep.
And then I need to subtract my repairs. How much should we say repairs are on this deal?
Let's just say 20, 25.
Okay, let's go $25,000 in repairs. So if I have 100,000, and then
take out your 30.
I take out my 30, which brings me to 70. From 70, I have to subtract my 25,000. That means that if this house is worth $100,000, I need to be able to buy it for $45,000.
That's right.
Now, if I buy it for 45, that gives me 25,000 for my repairs, and then the rest of this margin says closing costs are covered, carrying costs are covered. I pay me profits, right? I get money out of this deal. So, for example, if we're sticking with the 100 grand, what that is this is going to be $9,000 for my closing costs. Mm-hmm. This is going to be $6,000 for my carrying costs, and this is budgeting $15,000 as a profit. So in summary, let's say that you found a house that you could buy for 45. If it only was going to take 25,000 of repairs, and afterwards it would be worth 100 grand, then you would basically say, hey, on this deal, I got $15,000 budgeted for me.
That's right.
So this is the formula that you use all the time, pretty much on all your deals.
Yeah. If there's one variable that you would change on any of this, it would be your profit. So for example, if you're like, well, I'd like to make a little more than 15, I ought to make 20,000. Well, then we'd have to change this to 20, which would change this to 65.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll use a 65 formula.
Okay, so this is your 70% formula. Your 65% formula is if you make this 0.65, this turns into 20%. Now you have more profit.
And that's important to know because when people cut margins, let's say I went the other way, I went 75. It's not coming here, it's not coming here, it's coming here. That's it. So now you would make 10 instead of 15.
And friends, if you're gonna do a deal and you're gonna put up money and walk through this entire thing, 10% profit, I would say you better know what you're doing. You better have experience. You better have an experienced mentor on your back, because one of the things that I love that Warren Buffett teaches, golden nugget for you, he says that all the money he's made, the $85 billion that he's worth, is all about, he does in business what we're teaching you in real estate, but he also does it in real estate, which is buy low, sell high. And the lower you buy and the more you can sell it for, it creates a margin of safety. The bigger this number, it's not about you getting paid more. It's also a measure of risk. So the bigger this number is, the less risk you're taking because the more money you can make. If something goes wrong, you can eat into your profit margin. If you start with a 5% profit margin, you could get in trouble really, really fast because you can't afford for very much to go wrong on the deal.
Well, think about it. If it sells for 95 instead of 100, and if your rehab goes to 30 instead of 25,
then you just took another 10,000 out of this.
And that's easy to do, right, on a deal. So you got to be careful with your formula. A lot of people think, oh, well, you know, it'll all work out. Well, no. Follow the formula.
Yeah, and I want to share with you a golden nugget here, and then I want to let you know we got a special bonus for you. For those of you that are like, awesome, dude, you guys have shown me how much money you can really make wholesaling real estate. If you want to skip the whole flipping part of the process and actually collect a $10,000 finder's fee, stay tuned just at the very end. I just want to share this one point with you. So check it out, guys. Jerry has just shared with you his formula for, and also great stories on money he's made and how he's making it. Now, here's the best part, guys. If you're sitting here, you're watching this like, guys, this is a little steep for me. I don't want to get in that heavy that fast. The good news is that there's an excellent way for you to participate and play, skip all of this part, but collect a big, fat, juicy $10,000 reward. Jerry, thank you so much for breaking down this, man. This is great information. I hope you guys are loving this. I hope you're giving this video a big thumbs up if you've written this down and you're getting great value here. One of the things that Jerry does, I think that is quite extraordinary, is that he's always out there looking for deals, and so he's teaching this to help educate you. But Jerry, you also have a free software that you can download for free, like no cost, and actually go into the market and start finding some fantastic deals right now. Would you like to have access to that? Jerry's gonna dish it up right now for you.
Awesome, well thank you for being here. And like Kris said, I do have a free deal finding software. What's awesome about it is it serves up a list in any zip code. You put the zip code in and it gives you a list of underpriced properties for sale right in your markets. You've got the best deals to go after.
And now this is in the United States. So guys, we don't have this for India or Germany, but for those of you that are actually hunting for deals inside the United States, every zip code is covered, and you have a free software that will actually hand off really, really good deals.
Yeah, you just download the free subscription to it. There's a login, you log in, put your zip code in, boom, gives you a list. It's awesome.
So guys, if you want to get that information, all you have to do is Jerry's putting on a free webinar. It's a web training to show you how do you find these deals, and then better than that, he'll actually show you that after you find a good one in your market, you can bring it to Jerry or someone else, but Jerry will actually pay you $10,000, which I think is pretty phenomenal. So all you got to do is click the link in the description below, check that out, and get hunting down your first $10,000 finder's fee.